Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the SOULKATION podcast. You all, I have the most amazing woman that I feel like I should have known 62 years ago, before I even got here, on the podcast. She's absolutely amazing. So I'm going to give you a little bit background about her. She's an author, a master coach, and a training development strategist. She's widely known as an impact speaker that has served as a panelist on Oprah's The Life You Want tour and at Bishop T.D. Jakes' MegaFest. She's the architect and founder of the annual I Am Woman conference. We're going to talk about that later on. She's the CEO and founder of Aiming High Incorporated, which assists with large and small organizations in areas such as leadership development, and just to name a few of her clients, because she has a lot of clients, okay? She is booked. Comcast, Cisco Vista, Momentum Education, and Essence Magazine. Sylvia, hi, welcome to the SOULKATION podcast.
Oh, Logan, I'm so excited to be here at SOULKATION. I love that name, by the way. So thank you for having me. I'm delighted.
Thank you. Thank you for saying yes.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome.
So to give you all a little context, Miss Sylvia does events all around. You do it in the South and in Atlanta.
All over the country, and occasionally internationally. I used to be back and forth across the globe, but needed to slow some of that down a bit. So, yeah, but nationally.
What type of training and work do you do so the audience knows?
Yeah, so the name of my company, as you said, Logan, is Aiming High Inc., and we are a transformational training company, and that's very key. Different than traditional training. Our focus is really to empower organizations collectively and individuals to retrain their mind to accomplish what they haven't accomplished yet. And we do it through a vehicle called transformation, which in my opinion is one of the most powerful things that exists on the planet. And a lot of people say, well, why is that? When you and I as human beings alter our relationship with a person, place, situation, or a thing, our experience of that thing actually changes. And when our experience of something changes, our life shifts. The other thing that is so powerful about the work that we do in transformation, we empower people to actually embrace transformation. Because when you and I as human beings actually embrace transformation, we're actually empowered to shift the things that don't align with us. So that's what we do, and we do it in a lot of different paradigms around leadership, conflict resolution, effective communication, understanding communication styles, how to be peak performers in the world, and how to live a rich, full, fulfilling, abundant, purposeful life. So that's what I have the privilege to do and get to call it work.
I know, right? Because it's a lot of fun.
It's so much fun.
Yeah,
it's so much fun.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
So just to give you all a little bit more context, I took one of her programs because Dorinda Walker, who was a guest on the show, was raving about Sylvia. She was like, you have to know her. Like, if you don't know her, I don't know what's going on in your life. So you have to know her. So I looked her up. I took one of her courses. I think you're going to do it again. You might do it again.
Yeah, we do them about 3 to 4 times a year. And I think the series that you joined me in is The Journey to I Am. And it's like one of my faves. So yeah, that's the one that you joined me with on. And yeah, we'll do it again in probably another quarter, another 3 or 4 months. Yeah.
I will announce it to you, SOULKATION Tribe, because you have to be there. Like, you have to go. So let's get into it since you do this type of work. What is identity?
What is identity?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I think identity, now, do we want to look up what Google says? Or let's look at what Google says about identity. And then I can tell you exactly what I think about identity. And I have some strong opinions about identity. And I think when we don't self-identify, for sure, then life takes us where life takes us, right? whatever's going on in the moment, whatever the new buzz is. But I see you looking it up. I'm gonna give you a minute. Let's read to our audience what Webster says about identity, the definition of identity.
It says the fact of being who or what a person or thing is.
Okay, don't even say another thing, right? I'm sure it's got a who or what a person or thing is. And so identity is really about who you say you are.
Yeah.
Right? What are the components that make you uniquely who you are, right? And I just can't say enough about that, because what I find, and so my mom, let me back up a little bit. I want to say some things. So everybody say they had the best mom in the world, but I actually did have the best mom in the world, because she taught us, one, to think for ourselves. Anytime we would say, Mama, what do you think? She would say, well, Mama don't know. First of all, tell me what you think. What I realize now, she was really trying to gauge what kind of mindset her children had, right? But it was also teaching us to be independent thinkers. That was one. But I believe and know that identity is really who you say you are and what you base your value on, what you deem as important, what's your source that you go to that has you be an empowered person. How do you define yourself? What things define you? That's what I believe identity is. So I'll give you an example. So I was in the 8th grade and I saw this purse that I wanted. And I came home and I said to my mom, I said, Mama, I saw this purse. And she said, well, what kind of purse? I said, I want one. And she says, well, what was it? Describe it to Mama. And I said to her, well, it had these upside down F's on it. They had F's, but they were upside down, right? And obviously it was a Fendi purse. I had no idea who or what Fendi was. I just liked these F's that was on it. She go, well, those are very nice purses. That's called a Fendi. And, you know, it's probably going to cost you a little bit. And I'm in the 8th grade now. So she says, go back, and when you go to the mall, look at it and see, you know, what it costs. So sure enough, it was $800. And I still wanted it. And she was never a person that say that you couldn't do something or couldn't have something. She said, anything you want, you can do it and you can have it. So I began to save my little money. Can you imagine how much time that took with my little 8th grade, little part-time allowance and job that it took to get the money? But sure enough, I came up with the $800 and I get the purse. And she says, it's very nice. It's so pretty. She says, but Mom, I just don't think you should ever value somebody else's initials other than your own. Right there. She goes, it's a nice purse, but you're walking around with somebody else's initials. Your initials should be the most important initials on the planet. And I never, ever forgot that. Now, I still like the purse, but it elevated. My initials then was SW, now it's SH, right? And I just know the more we can self-define is really how you'll discover what your own identity is and should be, you know. And I think some key questions are what matters to me, what do I love, what would I do if I didn't care about what other people think, you know. But we're born, especially women, women are some of the most powerful beings that exist on the planet. We're the only beings that can bring another human being to the planet. Not all women obviously can have children, and not all of us, me being one of them, want to have children. That would be an example of identity. At 15 years old, I said, I never want to be anybody's mama. Now, I'm an incredible stepmother, but I got an incredible stepdaughter when I married my husband. But at 15 years old, I made that decision. I have not once wavered. And today, I do not regret that I made that decision. And anytime I say that, Logan, to people, ooh, I never want to be anybody's mom, you could see the eye. It's like women would look at me, specifically women, more than men, would look at me like I had horns. Like, what kind of woman is that? Yeah. That wouldn't want to have my identity does not, and who I knew myself to be, and who I really turned out to be, because I said that at 15, and obviously I'm a lot older than 15 now, that has not changed for me. So I don't know that I answered the question, but it's really the things that matter to you. What do you value? What is your soul? This is Soulcation. What does your soul say to you? What does your spirit say to you? I think when we were born, I do a course called Supercharge. And the course is all about living from your genius, living and operating from your genius. So what was the genius that you were born with when you got to the planet, right? That's part of your identity. You know, what was the purpose that God had you come to the planet for at this time, in this season, in this body, in this gender? That, ask those kind of questions. What are the things that you do where you lose complete track of time? That's an indicator of, you know, what your identity was meant to be. You know, I'm all things beautiful. I'm all things creative. I'm all things fun. I'm all things people and humanity. I'm all things interested in how our minds work and who we are as beings on the planet. So that's my identity. I came here like that, curious. In fact, they used to call me Miss Why, my mother, because you answer a question and I want to know why. And then she said that, and I want to know why that, and why, and why, and why. She said, because I said so. You know, because after the 100th why, she's done on it. Well, actually, it's more like the 10th why, if I got that far. So that's a long answer, but I believe we can find our identity around the things that we're most passionate about. What do we love the most? What is the Spirit of God saying to us, that voice? Some people call it intuition. I call it the Holy Spirit. It has to be well developed.
Yeah.
You know, and I think we don't find our identity if we don't steel ourselves and value ourselves enough to listen to what that voice is saying to us. Because the more you listen to the voice of God, the greater the trust you begin to have in you, right? And the more you trust in you, the more you're self-defining. Yeah. And I think we emerge, if there's another way out, maybe we emerge into, or we grow into our identity. Yeah. Maybe we discover our identity through this amazing gift called life. Yeah. So I think it's a lot of ways that you can come to it.
Yeah, and gift called time.
Yes.
Yeah, that's so good. Oh, I'm so excited. Okay. So,
and you got to interrupt me. I love doing interviews, but I'll get going and just interject right in the middle of a sentence if I'm not giving you time to breathe or get it. Please do that.
It's good. I'm sure they got nuggets already. I know I have. I know in one of your coaching sessions, you said you need to author yourself back to worthy. What does it mean to be worthy? Is that still attached to identity? But what is authorship? Can you explain that to the audience?
Okay, so that was very specific to that person. Okay. And it was in my listening. So I'm trained to listen. Part of transformational trainings, you don't listen so much to what people are saying. And yes, I listen to what you're saying, but I'm also listening to what you're not saying inside of what you're saying. Okay. And so whoever that person was, I could hear that they had self-worth issues. So that coaching in that particular case, which is true for a lot of people, they needed to re-author themselves or author themselves back to worthy. Because we came as little babies, infants. We knew that we were amazing. We had no self-concern. We didn't look for validation. We were taught that. You know, when you think about a baby, when a baby's hungry, what does a baby do? Scream to the top of their lungs, and they don't stop until you feed them. Baby wants to be picked up and played with. What does a baby do? They scream and don't stop until you pick up and play with them, right? So the baby with us, when we came here as infants, we were one with our Creator. We were clear, even without access to verbal language yet, that whatever our needs were, we were worthy. So we made requests through screaming as infants to get our needs met. And then slowly over time, the baby turns 2. I'll use that as an example. But at first, when the baby got here, the whole world, when they see a baby, what do they say? Ah, Look at the baby's so cute. And we're yes to the baby, whatever the baby wants. Then the baby becomes two. And there's two words that that baby hears consistently. Stop, stop, be quiet, stop, be quiet, like that, right? So then we start to box ourselves in and pick away, not intentionally necessarily by the parents, but we nick away at the truth of what we knew when we got here, is that we're amazing and incredible. We start to limit by saying, sit down, be quiet. In other words, spit in the box, get in the box, get in the box, get in the box. And so the freedoms gets nipped away, right? So that's one of the things that I think happens, because we all knew it at some point. And then we get older and we have disappointments. We try some stuff, it doesn't work out. We give our hearts away and somebody misuses it, they break it. You get a boss, they don't like you, they do you wrong. You know, a friend breaks your confidence. You know, the list goes on and on. And what happens for human beings is we start to think that the things that happen to us is actually who we are, which they are not one and the same. You are separate and apart from anything that has occurred in your life. You are separate and apart from anything that is actually occurring in your life. But when we start to collapse ourselves as beings to events, incidents, tangible items, houses, cars, titles, etc., we get confused. And then we begin to think that we are our things, we are our successes, we are our achievements, and none of that is so. Your worth, you can never, ever, ever get enough degrees, make enough money, buy enough houses. Nothing external can really give you your worth. And if you hang your worth on external things, guess what happens to your worth when you break up with the husband, the boyfriend, you know, the kids don't turn out like you thought they would. You know, you thought you were going to get a degree in this and you don't, you quit school, or whatever the story is. When those external things start to go differently than what we have deemed as successful, then our worth goes in the toilet. So you ask me a question, and really there's one answer to that question from my point of view, is worthiness is not something that you can gain or achieve. It's a decision. It's a place to come from. So it's a platform, if you will. So I, Sylvia High, am worthy, period. Not based on that I'm a transformational trainer and I have a successful business and I have a great marriage and I am worthy. God made me that way, period. I need nothing to gain my worth. I need no one's validation or approval to be worthy. It is a decision. And life is real, and we get discouraged. We get bumped around a bit. So the access to it is to continue to choose your worthiness inside of the challenges of life. And if we fall into the trap that most human beings do, because that's the big, loud, collective consciousness, Madison Avenue, someone said this once in one of my trainings and it was brilliant. Madison Avenue takes our worthiness, our worth away from us, so we have to buy it back. In Madison Avenue, that at one time, that's where all the great marketing firms were on the planet. In New York City on Madison Avenue, it was known as Marketing Lane, so to speak. So, you know, now social media, videos, magazines, they show us an image, right? And they say, hey, if you get this car, then this makes you worthy. Hey, if you look like this, then you're worthy. Hey, and they show all of these glossy pictures and things. And we buy the hype. And we begin to believe our worth and value is dependent upon some fabricated, outside of ourselves, generated version of ourselves. when it's just not the truth. Although it is the truth because we believe it, but it's not a fact. So yeah, that's a long answer, but I think it deserves that because I see people struggling all the time.
Yes, that's so good. I'm happy that you said that because that can go into, there's a lot of singles that listen to this podcast, very successful professional women. And a lot of us don't like it, but we're in the season. So I'm single. So we've learned how to continue living, right?
Mhm.
So while single, is there such thing as marriage preparation? Is there a worthiness preparation? Is there an I am preparation that you would just encourage us with right now?
Yeah, so that's a great word. I never thought of it that way as marriage preparation, right? Because now you're talking to, I'm a very odd being, let me say this, based on the world's definition of what normal woman is, right? So I was never a woman that wanted to get married. I never not wanted to get married. Hear me. But you know how you write your goals or you have goals. It never in my entire childhood did I, back in the day, they used to play with paper dolls and they had the little bride and the groom and the da 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 da. I never, ever said I wanted to get married. I never said I didn't want to get married. But what I did know is I wanted to have a lot of fun and see the whole wide world and make a lot of money and be really, really rich. That's all I knew. I had no idea what kind of profession. I had none of that. And then all of a sudden, it seemed, all of a sudden, I start hearing myself say, I'm ready, I'm ready, I'm ready.
Yeah.
I'm ready for an intimate, passionate marriage and relationship.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and I'm a talker if you can't tell. And I start telling everybody. So I start to date more people that I met and people that my friends introduced me to. And then had a cycle of, I'd go out with them and then around 6, 7, 8 months, something would be wrong with them. They chewed too loud, their ears were too big, they dragged their feet, name it. I would find a way and I would get rid of them. Okay, so I was clear it was them because you see, I'm fabulous, I'm amazing, I'm a gift. I even have a belief, and I used to say, I'm the prize, I'm the prize. That's one thing single women and men need to know, that you are the prize. Doesn't make the other person not be a prize, but know your own value, your own worth. But long story short, I would say for a lot of people, and in my case, it was a hidden belief, even though my conscious belief was that I'm ready for marriage and intimacy. I had a hidden belief that marriage equals hurt and devastation, because my mom, the only time I saw my mother become wobbly in life was when she divorced my father. My mother was my giant. She was my superhero. And to see my superhero get like discombobulated over this guy. And the thing is, they remained great friends. It wasn't violence in my home. My dad, I'm his chocolate chip. He adored me. He still talked about my mother. Look at my tall, gorgeous. He taunted her still even after the marriage as though she was still with him. But it was like the joking back and forth. So I had no conscious evidence of why I was having these results. So if you see that it's not happening, usually there's some internal belief, despite of what you're saying out of your mouth, that has you have a belief that's contradictory. It's a competing belief to what you currently are saying you want. So that's what I love about my work, is that it has you. And so that was revealed to me in the transformational training, is that I didn't trust men. And I would have never, I know a lot of women say I don't trust men, and a lot of men say I don't trust women. They are aware of it. But nothing about my love for men would have ever made you believe that I had that going on. And I had a belief that marriage equals hurt and devastation. So I had to clean up my internal beliefs. How do you do that? Look at patterns. If you've got repeated patterns where you keep attracting the wrong people, or people without integrity, or people that's not a great fit for you, or you can't keep a long-term relationship, you want to stop and go, I'm the common denominator here. What's going on? And start doing some soul work, looking to see. And that's one thing. That's a long answer, but I think it's critical. The thing about marriage preparation, I actually did do marriage preparation, but I didn't know, I didn't have that language, right? So I decided I'm done with all jokers, right? And I went through my phone and deleted all poo-poo. Everybody that was poo-poo jokers. I don't want nothing to do with y'all, right? So I got rid of them. I was done being frivolous. I'm not casual. I tried it. It doesn't work for me. So this is getting a little personal here, but I'll say it. And then I decided to become celibate. And I became celibate. And so that was that. And so I was so super proud of myself because, oh my God, look at me. And it went on for 5 years, if you could believe that. And then all of a sudden I meet this guy. And all of the feelings and emotions and desires, they start roaring. And long story short, when it was getting ready to become intimate, I knew that this person was husband material. He was different than anybody I'd ever met before. And in my head, I made a decision. I need to act like a wife. If I want to be with this guy, I can't play around like I've done before. I can't send mixed messages. And so even when he first wanted to become sexually involved, I said no, and I stuck to it. And it was not a manipulation as much as I knew I was ready for something different. Yeah. So you got to figure out what really, where are you? And don't lie, don't make up, don't think that you're gonna convert. You're gonna don't say one thing and do another. Yeah. That's the other thing. And then the last thing I'll say on that, you got to become who you want to be with. You got to become who you're looking for. So I fell madly in love with myself. I had parties of one every Friday. My self-care was through the roof. My life was vibrating at a very high level. I was working out. I was taking salsa lessons. I was just, so when I met him, he says, God, you're so vibrant and alive. So I had actually become who I was looking for. A lot of us want people, and we're not even that ourselves. Some of us want the fittest, finest guy we could find, and we're not the fittest, finest we could be. Yeah. We want someone intellectually brilliant, and we're not starting and growing. We want someone positive, and we're negative. But if you don't absolutely 100% value yourself and know that you are the prize, you will settle. Yeah. And so I knew I was a prize, that I was premium, and that I didn't have to settle. And I learned enough that settling did not work for me. Yeah. And so at some point, you got to do different in order for it to be different. So that's a long answer. So to my sisters out there, go be who you're looking for. I was irresistible by the time he met me. There's no one that could have competed with me for him because of how I showed up for myself. And then therefore I showed up for him in a way that he said, wow, she's a keeper. That's what you want them thinking. She's a keeper, but you got to know that you're a keeper. Amen. Don't be desperate. Get clear, but don't be desperate. Trust God. Now, I did pray a brilliant prayer. This is the last thing I'll say about this. I prayed to God. I said, Lord, I want my divine mate, divinely chosen by you in your divine time. And what I will offer you there, it was more than any list I ever wrote. I didn't even have the wisdom to know what I needed in a husband. Things I got, I would have never known to ask for. So if you believe in God, believe him for everything. Yeah, don't act like it's a big deal. And last thing I'll say, so good. Don't buy the hype. That there's no good men and you're too old and the clock is ticking. That's what authorship meant. I authored something very different. And I did not get married until I was 41. 40 or 41, I can't remember. But I authored that. That's what authoring means. I authored that it was the best time in life to get married. I authored that, being single is amazing, that it was the best time of my life. I was very intentional. Don't buy into the collective that they say about relationship and it's not a lot of good men and all of that. I wouldn't buy it. I didn't buy it. Yeah. I made up my own story. That's good. That's so good.
If you believe God, believe him for everything. Woo!
Good.
Better preach for the next 62
He
years.
made them. He made us. So why could he make that happen? You know, God is deep. I, like you said earlier, I do these women's conference, and every year I say the same thing to God. Oh God, I don't have any idea how next year could possibly even match what happened this year. Said that the first year. Then he blew it out of the water the second year. I said the same. So this last year was the 5th year, and I was embarrassed to even have this conversation with God. I was like, oh God, I'm so embarrassed to even say this to you. But now for real, how on earth am I going to come up with anything better than what just happened? He said, first of all, you didn't come up with it. I did. How about that? And secondly, he said to me, I made the ocean. Period. Get your mind around that, little girl. I made the ocean. Don't even try to look at the life in the world in the ocean. Just get the fact that I made the ocean. So what is it for him to give you a great mate, his daughter? You're the daughters, we're the daughters of the Most High.
Yeah.
Right? Don't believe the hype. I live in the world, but I'm not of this world, and I'm very clear. Who you gonna believe? You might know her. Her name is Christine Kane. As a matter of fact, she was one of the speakers at MegaFest when I was there. So she's about 5'2", right? And she walks up, and she in her heels, in her outfit, and she gets on the stage, and she drops to the floor, and she kicks out 100 push-ups. 1, 2, 3, 100 push-ups in heels. I'll never forget it. And she stands up. She says, a year ago, I had been diagnosed with thyroid cancer. I went through how many ever rounds, she said, of chemotherapy. And look at me today. She said, I ask you, who you gonna believe?
Oh, Lord.
I'm talking, I know, you're trying to do an interview, girl, and I'm just going. But you know, who we gonna believe?
Yeah.
That's really it.
Yeah. That's so good. Okay.
All right. Ask me another question and cut in, because you see, I won't give you no space to answer.
I just love it. I'm just listening.
Okay.
So, like I said, it's a lot of professional women that listen to the podcast, and a lot of us, you know, we loved when things feel. We love being right.
Mm.
Okay, and so you said something in the training. Also, you said, ask yourself 2 questions: what am I trying to be right about, and what has being right cost me?
Absolutely. Yeah. Oh man. Okay. So this has got layers to it.
Okay.
That's the top. That's a layer of underneath that is this. So we all have beliefs. Your beliefs, whatever you believe, beliefs will constrict you, or they're going to expand you. They expand or they constrict, right? So you want to become an observer of your beliefs and your thinking. And you want to update your beliefs and your thinking. Your beliefs in particular need to match what you desire, where you're headed, and where you want to go. Just like we get the new cell phones and we update the technology, we got to update this technology. You know, your mental state and your emotional state as human beings, that's your vehicle. That's your general perception of self and general perception of the world really determines what you're willing to do and not willing to do. So I will say that first. Do a consistent inventory of your belief systems. And if they're not working, the good news about a belief, it can change. So intentionally update them. Like right now, I'll give you an example. So for 30 years, I have such resistance to technology. I don't like it. I'm not good at it. I can't stand it. Oh, it was just negative. COVID hit. I am on, I don't know, my 5th training via Zoom. I'm in love with technology. I created a new belief quick, fast, and in a hurry, right? That technology, without it, you know, life wouldn't look the way it looks in these seasons. So I updated that belief system. And what it's given me access to in just 9-10 weeks is incredible. You can actually do that. So that's one. Now, let me go back to your question, is being right. See, we as human beings, you and I, we are, it's like it's built in almost. There's a self-righteousness that's in us, and we are going to be right about whatever we believe. That's what I mean. That's why it's important to take the inventory to say, what am I being right about? So if you say, I want to be a multimillionaire, but you believe that millionaires are deceitful people, you're going to go be right about millionaires are deceitful people, and you'll keep wondering why you haven't made the million, right? So what do you want to be right about? Do I want to be right about that? In my case, I was being right about love equals hurt and devastation. Marriage is boring and it's not fun. So I could be right about that and keep being single and not having the mate I want, or I could be right about marriage is amazing, it's fun, it's exciting, it's sexy. I'm going to have a different kind of marriage. It's not going to be a boring one. And so I decided to be right about that. Mine doesn't have to be what happened with my mom. I was being right about, all men cheat. No, there's honest, integrous men. That's what I mean. Do you want to be right? Yes, we do. And you're going to be right. That's why it's important to get clear about what you're being right about. So when I hear so many single women in particular, oh my God, they're being right about so much crap. It is no way they're going to meet anybody. It's no way they're going to. And if they did, the idea of having a successful relationship is not going to happen. Will not happen, I promise you. Now I'll bring it back to relationship. So with my husband, like let's say we're having a different point of view. I'm putting that mildly. We're having a disagreement. I can choose, am I going to be right? Is it more important for me to be right, or do I want to get my way? If I want to get my way, and I want this to turn out the way I want to turn out, maybe some people would call it manipulation. I choose to figure out, a way to show up inside of that conversation so that not being right is more important to me, but building a bridge is more important to me. Creating harmony, having harmony, being understood, taking the joke off of it. I'm very serious. So we're going to be right. You're going to be right. So I tell people, sit down once every 3 months, once a month, and check out your belief systems. Do they work? If not, update those beliefs.
That's so cool.
Yeah, we're given the power of choice. But you know how you'll make a bad choice? And the choice is bad. The choice not working. It ain't working. It's not working. But we refuse to re-choose. So when you're being right about, this is how I end this answer. When you're being right about things that don't work, get humble, shift, and choose to be right about what would work. That takes courage though, and it takes humility. Am I going to continue to be right about technology is difficult and hard to understand, or it's a gift to the planet and you need to get with it, Sylvia? I'm being right about that right now.
That's good.
Does that make sense? Did I answer that question for you?
It makes
about being right. Yeah. You look in your life, we're going to be right about whatever you believe.
Yeah.
My sister believed that you had to work hard, you had to earn it, and everything has to be fair. So for 30 years almost at FedEx, she worked hard and she earned it. I believe that life is joyful and things should come to me effortless with ease. And I should have an abundance of things that come to me. So I'm right, because you're going to be right about what you believe. And guess what life is? Fun, joyful, abundant. Things come to me effortless with ease. Thank God she's retired. But she was right that you had to work hard. And I'm not saying I don't work hard, but the context is what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It takes the burden off of it. Yeah.
Joy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree. Oof. Last question. We're going to have to do a part 2, Miss Sylvia.
Okay, I'm on.
You work with a lot of powerhouses. How do you acquire confidence, and how do you keep confidence in a room full of giants?
Knowing that you're a giant. That's a worthy conversation.
Yeah.
One, knowing that any room any door that I walk through, I belong there.
Yeah.
Any table that my feet are under, they should be under.
Yeah.
The other thing I say, don't ever, 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 ever compare. I don't compare and I don't compete. I live inside of a belief that I am a contribution, and we all are contributions. So I could be in the room with Michelle Obama and I'm going to marvel at the contribution that she is and what she came to do. But I own the contribution that I am and what I came to do, and own the contribution that Logan is and what she came to do. One is a scarcity mentality, thinking that it's not enough.
Yeah.
Versus it's an abundant. And I believe we're all on an assignment. Nobody's accidentally here. God is intentional and you were intended. So those are some of my core beliefs that has me understand that. God didn't make less than, better than. He made all of us equal. He made us different, but everybody's value, everybody has value.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now that's not to say when I do some things that I'm not so pleased with the outcome that I don't have to reboost. So I'm very intentional. I have 3 questions that I ask myself on a regular basis as a trainer and a speaker. Whether people give me a standing ovation or they just thought it was okay. Thank God that's rarely the case. But I ask myself still 3 questions. What worked? What didn't work? What will I do differently?
Yeah.
What's working? What's not working? What can I do different? See, that gives me information and it keeps me moving forward. Yeah. So I wrote a book years ago called The Little Book of Big Questions, A Journey in Self-Discovery. Another part to that answer would be, what kind of questions are you asking yourself? See, when we ask ourselves low-yielding questions, what's wrong with me? How come I did that? Why won't I stop? How come I can't? That is going to shrink you and make you feel less than a giant. But if you stay on the side of what I call high-yielding questions, committed action questions reveal new information and it makes a request of you. And that's why I love those 3 questions. What's working? What's not working? What could I do differently? What worked? What didn't work? What will I do differently? And that keeps you fueled, right? The other keeps you in analysis paralysis. It takes your life and your vitality. So that's it. And that's not to say, let me be very transparent, that I don't get butterflies in my stomach, that, on the way to speak. And I wasn't main stage. I was one of the panelists at the Procter & Gamble stage at the Oprah Live Your Life tour. And I'm one of these people super excited about it. And then as we got closer and closer to the Prudential Center, my stomach started hurting. And then I felt nauseous. And then I said, well, what's going on? And then I went, ooh, I'm afraid. I'm nervous. Well, what are you afraid of? Oh, you're intimidated. Oh, well, why are you intimidated? Because it's Oprah. And then God said, famous don't equal better.
Lord.
It's simply more people know her name. That's all.
Please drop it, Mike. Just drop it. Just drop it.
Famous does not equal better. And I kid you not, I was on the stage with 2 CEOs of Fortune 100 companies and myself, the coach. 2 CEOs, probably $1 million plus salaries, and me. At the end of that panel, I felt a little uncomfortable because the line to talk to me was wrapped around the outside, and they had 2 or 3 people in front of them. Why? Fame, title, money, it doesn't define us. And people can't value me no more than I value myself. 1. 2, you'll never be blessed beyond your faith or your belief. God will only can bless you to the level of your belief and the level of your faith. Your blessings can never exceed your faith level. You can never have it any better than you can stand it. How good can you stand it? That's how good it'll get, not an inch more.
I can't say anything.
Logan, I love you. You're so funny.
Oh my
Yes.
God, that is so good. Miss Sylvia, you're gonna give the audience a gift.
Yes. Oh, yes. Oh, everyone has the opportunity to go to I Am Free Mantras and download that. The I Am Free Mantras. And so what it is, it's a list of, I think it's 15 or 20, maybe it's 10. Very, very powerful I am mantras. You ask about how do you remain worthy? How do you remain a giant in the room, knowing, own your giantness? Let me say that. How do you continue to own your own giantness? It's through what you feed yourself. What's your mental, emotional, and psychological diet? The spiritual diet, most important diet of all. It'll drive what you eat, right? If you get that mental, emotional, and spiritual diet tight, then you're straight. And so these I am mantras, the I am free mantras, will absolutely support you in owning your gift, your giant, your genius, the fact that you are amazing and there's nothing you can do about it. I don't care what you might be believing contrary to it, but it doesn't change the fact that when God made you, he made you magnificent. So.
Oh, that's so good. You all make sure you all download that. I'm going to put it in the show links and I'm going to have it on my website. So either one, just make sure you download it. Is there anything you want to leave the audience with, Sylvia?
Yeah, just continue to, declare that and know it like a reality. Yes. And then anybody that wants to connect with me, they can also connect with me via my website, which is aiminghighink.com, aiminghighink.com. And to keep a lookout, we're doing some pretty amazing things, some Zoom trainings. I do a tremendous amount of executive coaching for leaders and emerging leaders. And so they can reach out to me direct via email, Sylvia with a Y, Sylvia, at aiming, AIMING, high, HIGH, Inc., INC.com for a 15-minute complimentary conversation to see if you wanted to partner with me as your coach. And I'm a coach's coach, a master coach. So folks that's up to big things and they got things that they're ready to have happen now, I'm a great partner for folks that's looking to do that. And lastly, some of your teams are thirsty for inspiration and motivation. Some of the companies that you're working for probably need some strategic thinking to have their effectiveness continue to soar during these times and beyond. So I also do corporate training. So that's what I'm up to. I just did that hour go by that quickly.
Yes, I wish it was 29 hours because we know. That was so good. Thank you so much.
Oh, it's such an honor. I adore you. Keep doing it. Keep doing what you're doing. We need every ounce of goodness in the world that we could possibly get. And you're certainly doing that. All righty. So it's been a joy.
Thank you. Make sure you all share this episode with all of your friends. It's going to be on Spotify, iHeartRadio, on the website, Apple Podcasts. It's on all platforms. So make sure you share this episode, and I'll catch you all next time. Have a good one.
All right. God bless.